So welcome back. We are going to look at the second half of the Great Depression and the New Deal in America, and here we go.
In the U.S., a new president had been elected, and he took office in 1933. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, FDR. He had a big job ahead of him to get America back on its economic tracks, and he immediately set to work. One of his first acts was to declare a bank holiday. He closed all the banks in the country for 8 days.
So now we're looking at the government playing a more significant role in the economy, and they're saying one of the things we're seeing economically is people are freaking out. They are going to the banks, they're trying to withdraw all their deposits. This has caused 10,000 banks to go bankrupt. We need to restore some sense of calm. We're going to call an 8-day banking holiday. Nobody can go to the bank for 8 days. And then when you go to the bank after those 8 days, we guarantee your money's there, so you don't have to take it out. So one of the problems that FDR needs to address is a lack of faith in the banking industry, the financial industry. And in his first 100 days in office, this is one of the first tasks that he has to do. So he says, we're going to have a banking holiday. 8 days, banks are closed. And then once the banking holiday is done, we guarantee that you can go and take your money out of the bank, but you don't have to. We guarantee it's there. That the federal government guarantees it now. So the reason why people were panicking and trying to take their money out, because they were worried that it wasn't going to be there. That if they waited too long, then the banks were going to end up losing their money. So now they don't have to take the money out. And the key is that we need to keep money in circulation to grow the economy. If I go and take the money out of the bank, now the bank can't lend that money out and help grow and multiply and create jobs. So this is one of his first ways to help re-stimulate the economy and also re-establish some kind of faith in the system. Banking holiday.
He did this to give the government time to come up with a plan to save the banking system. And he hoped that the bank holiday would stop people from withdrawing all their deposits. This panic had caused thousands of banks to go under. Roosevelt made the ownership of gold coins or bullion a crime.
So we have lots of people in America hoarding gold, and much like a bank, taking money out of the bank and hoarding that, when you hoard gold, you're taking value out of the economy, out of circulation. So whatever that gold is worth, if you're storing it in a box underneath your bed, now it's wealth outside the economy. So it can't multiply and grow the economy. So how can we make sure that the gold is being stored by the government and therefore can be somehow created into wealth that can be used to grow the economy? Well, let's make hoarding of gold illegal. So we're going to create legislation that makes it illegal for private people, you and I, to hoard gold. We need that gold in circulation. We need the value of that gold in circulation.
Which was an attempt to stop hoarding and the first step in taking the nation off the gold standard. This had the effect of devaluing the US dollar, which helped exporters. But FDR didn't stop there. Within a few weeks of taking office, he ended the prohibition of alcohol.
All right, so in 1920, we amended the US Constitution, and we ended up making the sale of alcohol illegal. But as we learned earlier today, people love their alcohol, and more people are consuming than ever. So you know what? Let's make that legal again so we can tax it. Makes sense. And we don't have to spend any money policing it. So we're going to save money on the policing side of the ledger. We're going to add money on the taxing side of the ledger. So they're going to go through a whole list of reforms now. And here we go.
It wasn't working anyway, and lifting it would allow the government to collect taxes on sales of alcohol. Roosevelt then set up a whole slew of government programs. There were so many of them that people's...
So good news, you don't need to know them all. Bad news, you need to know some. So through the government programs, this is freedom through government. This is modern liberalism. He's going to provide relief, recovery, and reform of the economy. So we have specific problems, and there will be an agency designed to solve it. So for example, we see the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. We're going to ensure that your money that is deposited is there. So what is the problem? People have no faith in the banking industry. So we're going to create the FDIC to ensure your deposits. We have another problem. There's farmers that are losing their farms. So we have the Farm Security Administration. We have the Farm Credit Administration. So we have specific agencies that are providing relief to farmers. We have specific agencies that are reforming the system, saying we need to have new rules in place to insure banks, to regulate banks.
Started calling them the alphabet agencies. These would help to distribute emergency supplies.
So in terms of relief, one of the things that they're doing, we're going to help distribute emergency supplies. So the question is, what role should the government play in the economy? Well, in a time of crisis, the government should help distribute emergency supplies. And this isn't the government saying hands off the economy. This is the government saying, if you will be free, you need to do that through us, modern liberalism. So this is mixing some collectivism with individualism. That it's a crisis. Now the government says, you know what, poverty is not just a local concern, it's our concern. We have to help distribute emergency supplies. So during an emergency, the premier, the prime minister, they shouldn't be like, man, I haven't seen Jason Kenney in weeks on TV, or I haven't seen Trudeau in months. They should be there. They should be leading.
Assist business, insure bank deposits, regulate the stock market.
So we're going to assist business because America is a country based on entrepreneurship. But some of these entrepreneurs, which usually want self-interest, want hands-off, they're struggling, they're going bankrupt. So we need to assist business. We need to regulate the stock market. So specifically, we have the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission. The SEC is created in 1934 so that 1929 can't happen again. Why did 1929 happen? Because no one was watching the stock market. We need someone to regulate the stock market. Why? Because mankind's not as rational as Adam Smith had hoped. Adam Smith said, if this, then that, right? If man is rational, then the government can practice hands-off. But what we're seeing is man's not rational, so now we need to be regulated. We are flawed by human nature, so we must be regulated. The markets can be regulated through the SEC. It all connects. This is an evolution of liberalism because the government's taking on a new role to provide for the common good. We have other things like the Tennessee Valley Authority because the Tennessee Valley had high unemployment, 80%. But we also have the Works Progress Administration, which is going to create employment. Relief, recovery, reform. Reform, SEC, that's a reform. We're reforming the financial sector. Relief, we're providing handout. We're providing aid.
And subsidize home and farm mortgage payments. Other legislation brought unemployment compensation and old age security payments.
This is a revolution, right? Unemployment compensation, old age security, this is a revolution. Not a revolution like French Revolution, we're cutting heads off, but a revolution in the sense that this is a big change. From freedom from to freedom through, we're going from a right-wing economic system to more of a mixed economic system. Something in the middle, mixed. Mixing individualism with collectivism. Mixing self-interest with collective interest.
All of this was part of his New Deal, which was a series of major recovery programs intended to bring the U.S. out of the Depression. In many
So they're about to give us some numbers, and in order to get to that PF level on an essay, we need numbers. So, okay, you've told us that they provide relief, recovery, reform. We even have some agencies like the SEC, but now I need some numbers. We need some numbers. No. What did they do? We're going to get numbers in the next 2 minutes.
Cities, the federal government provided hot lunches for children of the poor, as well as daycare for working mothers.
So as we wait for the numbers, the government's saying, you know what? We need to feed the kids. Herbert Hoover said, poverty is a local concern, let the churches feed the kids. Government under FDR is saying, yeah, you know what? We need to have those. We need to provide hot lunches for kids. We need to provide daycare. This is quite progressive. Even in Alberta today, the government of Alberta doesn't provide daycare. I mean, unless you count what I do as daycare, and some days, right? Some days I might go that far. Why do we still have K-6 school kids in school next week? Some might say because it sure looks like daycare. So, I mean, maybe they are, and they're just calling it public education, but we don't have, public subsidized daycare in Alberta, and you could argue that therefore the government under FDR was a little more socialist than we are.
Roosevelt's administration also came up with the food stamp program. The stamps could be traded for food at any market.
This is brilliant. We got people hungry. We need to feed them. Give them some food stamps. They can go to the grocery store. Here's a stamp. Give me some food. Not only does it provide food for the hungry, but now it provides a consumer for the food that the farmer has created that no one's buying. It has a multiplying effect. Economics is simple, and the budget balances itself, Trudeau.
In turn, this helped farmers to sell their surplus crops. In later programs of his New Deal, Roosevelt established the Works Progress Administration.
So again, we want to be specific. It's not just any agency, it's the WPA. So in order to be specific, in order to be PF, in order to be sound, we want to say it's not just any alphabet agency, it's the Works Progress Administration, it's the WPA, and this is what they did.
The WPA boosted the economy by giving the unemployed an income. In return, they went to work on thousands of federal projects. During this time, 78,000 bridges were built.
So now these are the numbers, right? And I'm a numbers guy, I want to hear numbers. 78,000 bridges are built. In Edmonton, they were repairing a bridge and it took them 2 years. They built a new bridge and it took them at least 2 years. So they're building 78,000 bridges across the US. That's going to create thousands of jobs. So there's a benefit. But it's also going to create bridges that we need for infrastructure, because the highways, the bridges, these are the arteries, right? These are the veins, these are the lifelines of an economy. We're going to need those bridges once the economy recovers, so that people and products can be moved across the bridges. So this is an investment in the future, but it also provides jobs for the present. This is Keynes. This is Keynes saying in bad times the government needs to prime the pump. You need to get that engine going again. You need to stimulate the economy, create jobs, so that we can see demand for products return. This is why it's also called demand-side economics. And I think this is pretty straightforward stuff.
More than 600,000 miles of new roads.
600,000 miles of new roads. We're going to need roads when the economy recovers. Most Americans drive themselves to work. Products get moved on those roads. 600,000 miles of new roads.
And 115,000 new buildings, including schools, post offices, and hospitals.
It's a good time to invest. Let's build schools. Let's build hospitals and post offices. Let's build government buildings that are an investment for generations. This school's not going to be used for 3 or 5 or 10 years and then be bulldozed. This is a school that will be around for decades, that is an investment on the education of future Americans. Hospitals, post offices. This is the government taking an interest in priming the pump of the economy and building the infrastructure for the future. This is modern liberalism, this is Keynesian economics, seen through the policies of President FDR. So in a Goldilocks essay, many people say 1920s America, too little government. We needed to regulate the irrational nature of mankind. There's people living in poverty. Poverty is not a local concern. We can't have people so desperate that they literally jump out of buildings. Or too little regulation. The Triangle Shirtwaist factory fire we saw yesterday. You know, government needed to regulate the irrational nature of mankind. We can't lock people into a room. Or the Upton Sinclair's The Jungle. We need products regulated because people are eating rat and feces when they think they're eating pork. So too little government. And then we'll look at the Soviet Union, maybe we'll see too much government. Many people look at this, the middle, as the just right. The essay kind of writes itself.
And along with local school boards and churches, the WPA organized a massive adult education program. Millions of adults would attend schools in their communities to study everything from mechanics to cooking. A great many of them were new immigrants learning English. The WPA's activities included the Federal Arts Project, which paid for work done by artists all through the U.S. They were required to produce paintings, sculptures, and murals for public buildings. They also developed art education projects. There were similar programs.
So it's kind of cool. We're providing jobs for artists, but we're also creating propaganda to deal with the problem, which is public confidence. If ye break faith, we're gonna die. So suck it up, get confident again, get out there, do what you need to do, which is buy stuff. Quit hoarding money, get out there and be a consumer. What drove the economy in the 20s? Consumption, demand. We need to drive the economy again. Get out there and buy stuff. So I'm gonna be a hero today. I'm gonna go buy stuff at the end of the day. I'm trying to stimulate this economy in Alberta. So yeah, let's go buy some stuff. Huh? Who's with me? Let's go spend some money. I'm a hero. What does, who's that guy? Who's Iron Man? Tony Stark. Tony Stark, if he really wants to be a hero, all he has to do is spend his money. He doesn't have to put on that suit and fly around.
For writers, musicians, and actors. The Resettlement Administration made an important contribution at this time. Professional photographers were sent out to document the living and working conditions of ordinary Americans.
Those are powerful pictures.
Some of the best records of America in the 30s are the images captured by these photographers. All of this was political and economic revolution. Never before had the U.S. government intervened so dramatically in the economic, social, and cultural development of the country.
And I would argue it's also evolution. It's the government evolving. It's our relationship with government evolving, because we saw that classic liberalism was great at creating wealth, but not great at distributing wealth. And once this crisis in 1929 hit, it was so severe that the government finally was forced to put into practice some of the stuff that the progressives, like Teddy Roosevelt, had wanted 20, 30 years before. Pretty clear?
It had a downside, of course. Government spending skyrocketed, and you could forget about balanced budgets. But it made Roosevelt very popular. He would enjoy an unprecedented 4 terms in office.
Strange, you spend money on people and they like you. So we're going to end the video there before it crashes, and then we'll see what's on the lesson that I created for this.